Bonjour, je m'appelle Makera Kotomamala, je viens de Paris, France, et je fais partie de l'équipe d'ISU Men's Tennis.
My name is Teresa Kolarova and I'm from Czech Republic.
Je m'appelle Pierre-Louis Dedance, je viens de Genève en Suisse et je joue au tennis pour Arizona State.
My name is Lauren Jean-Baptiste and I'm from England, London.
Hi, my name is Tom Wright, I come from London, England, and I play tennis here at Arizona State University.
Both Arizona State's men's and women's tennis teams have international ties. As of the 2017-18 season, 12 of the 17 combined athletes from both squads are from outside the United States. In fact, the men's team had just one American listed on its roster.
What happens over internationally is either you go professional or you go to school. You can't do both.
Adapting to college is one thing, but then the change in tennis and overall culture is another big switch. A lot of these players may not be ready for the professional rankings, so going to a college to develop their skills can help bounce them to the next level.
And so I think anybody who, with these young kids, they're 18, 19 years old, most of them aren't ready to go professional. The really good ones are, so they'll go. Cece Bellis was all set to go to Stanford, but I mean, she's ranked, I think she was ranked top 100 in the world, so she decided not to go, which is a great decision. She's 44 in the world right now. But so many of these kids at 18, 19 is really they're too young and they don't have the experience to go out there, the finances they don't have either. So really for them to come to the U.S. and to get a great education and to be able to play tennis, because, this is some of the best tennis you're going to get. Really, I think the kids can get better when they come to school, so I think the internationals are really saying, hey, look, I can come to school for, even if it's for a year or two, or obviously, hopefully you want them for all 4 years to graduate. I think they realize this is, they died and went to heaven. Most of these kids can't believe that they can come over here and have the resources that they do, because a lot of these college facilities are better than their national facilities, quite frankly.
It's a little more competitive, a little more in your face over here, particularly college tennis. You're playing for a team and you're playing for a university. There's a lot of pride there, and there's it's just a different style. It's a lot more vocal, a lot more grit and competitiveness, and that's probably not as common when you're playing a professional tournament in France or something somewhere. It's much more, a lot more about etiquette of the sport and a lot more class and respect, and it's just not as, I don't know, it's just different.
It's tricky because if you ask, the American parents, they don't like it at all, because obviously the more international you have, sometimes it takes away opportunities from their kids. So I don't look at it that way. I think there's plenty, particularly on the women's side, there's plenty of scholarships available. We've got 8 full scholarships. Sometimes the scholarships come actually unused. What happens, it gets tricky because, kids want to go to certain schools, and so sometimes they don't have that opportunity. Maybe we have to get an international kid here rather than maybe a U.S. kid who really can't help us to compete against the UCLAs and USCs, because sometimes those schools might get a higher profile American than we do. It's just sort of more kids in California, they want to stay there. So in order to compete, some schools have to get the international kids. So it's tricky. You certainly, for me, everybody's different. I want to make sure I have a balance, but some schools can't. It's hard to do.
On the men's side, recruiting has been a little different. The program was reinstated in May of 2016 after being discontinued back in 2008. The addition of the men's team made it the 26th varsity sport the university holds. The jumpstart to the program was started by a $1 million donation from Vice President of University Athletics Ray Anderson and his wife Buffy. From there, head coach Matt Hill was hired from the University of South Florida, in which he was named the American Athletic Conference Coach of the Year 3 out of 4 seasons. Hill also led USF to 3 consecutive NCAA tournaments, and in his first full season at ASU, the Sun Devils made the dance. But acquiring these players to accomplish that stat was not easy.
The fact that we had no program a year ago, and you had to put a full team together in a year, and the American kids predominantly commit very early. So by the time we had gotten the job and we started the recruiting process, I would say out of the Americans that we would recruit at this level, 95% of them are gone. We didn't have a lot of options in the American market when we took the job. So there wasn't another option. If you're going to put a team together, you either drop your standards, which I was not going to do, you know, or you recruit players around the country, around the world that are the same level, and they're just not from here.
With tennis being played in over 100 countries, how does a coach look to narrow down the perfect recruit?
There's world rankings for juniors. There's world rankings for the men's pro players. I have contacts in a lot of countries around the world because I've been in that market for the last 10, 12 years. So it's not that challenging for me to pick up the phone and talk to 4 people in Belgium that I know, that I've either coached or worked with or talked with over the years. And so, yeah, I think the group that we got is an incredible group. I mean, we got virtually one of the best players from each country coming into college tennis. And so, you know, our skill set level is very high in this group. It's just these other areas are much lower than the other teams, just because, you know, limited experience with each other and all of that. So I've been really impressed to see what this group has been able to do in a 2-month span, and I'm really excited to see what they're going to do in the final 2-month span.
If you go to university back home, you're kind of it's like considered stopping. You know, you're not going pro. They expect you to turn pro straight away. They don't want you to go to university. It's a much different culture. Whereas here, it's all about, you know, going university, getting a degree as a backside, and, you know, really focusing on your tennis. I mean, for me, I'm here mainly for my tennis. The degree, I'm sorry, Mum, but my degree is the second side. You know, yeah, it's a much different culture in here. Everyone really backs their sport. You know, you look around this amazing campus, and every athlete, every person that's involved in the university is just backing the sport 100%.
Everyone knows him as Mackie, but his real name, well, let's have him tell you.
Baonoro Mandresi. So cool. Yeah, it's a long name because I come from Madagascar. I mean, my parents are from Madagascar, but I was born in France.
Mackie's first day on American soil was when he came to Arizona State as a freshman, and he barely spoke any English.
When I came here, my English was very, very poor, so I think I make some improvements. I mean, I have no choice. I mean, I have to go to class. I have to go to class, of course. It's easy. I mean, in 3-4 months, I mean, I used to speak English a lot, you know, with the classes, tennis, you know. Even when I was at home, you know, I tried to make an effort, you know, to not speak in French with the other guys, but speak in English, you know, and now I think it's better.
Yeah, it's a tribute to the work he's putting in on it, because it's not easy. Not easy to sit in a classroom in another language when you're really trying to work through the language. So, yeah, it's been impressive. Look, it's not just about getting guys into school when you're talking about TOEFL tests and English competency and stuff like that. It's also just ability to coach on the court, right? If they're not understanding 50% of what you're saying, I mean, it becomes challenging. So, yeah, I mean, I think he was really committed to that. I think he, you know, has really done a good job of really looking to speak English at all times. And that's not always the easiest when you've got a couple guys on the team that speak French as well. It's just so much easier to default to where you're comfortable. But yeah, I've noticed them spending a lot more time speaking English with each other at all times. I mean, it's something that we ask of them when we're around them.
As a standard for Arizona State's men's tennis team, the athletes must speak to their teammates and their coaches in English. For some athletes, this isn't a problem because they learned English at such a young age in their home countries.
I think through what I'm going to say. I talk way slower. I sometimes use a crazy accent somewhat, try to use somewhat of an accent of their language to help them pick up on it a little bit easier. And then, yeah, I say things a couple different times. I ask them if they understand. I really try to change my style of communication with guys like that, and to make sure that the message I'm getting across is getting across and received the way that I'm trying to send it.
That's how I serve in singles and in doubles. You don't put up, say it.
French is my first language. I picked up English when I was really young, so like I was going to many classes and part of my high school was in English. German is a mandatory language in Switzerland, so when I was in school I had to learn German, and when I was in high school my option was Spanish. I lost all my German, unfortunately, because it's a tough one and like with time, and I didn't practice it so much. But being in the US helps me with my Spanish, that's for sure. German is much harder, and I felt like Spanish was more or less like French. Yeah, a lot of words and a lot of pronouns are really similar to French.
The lifestyle of knowing multiple languages is shared on the women's team as well, as 5 players on their roster from the 2018 season were from outside the United States.
So we speak Czech, but I think I was 10 when I started with English. Me and my sister, we had a private teacher, so I started really young. I think in high school it's 2 languages you have to learn, so I took English and Russian.
For the tennis athletes at Arizona State, a sense of home is still found even if they're not from the U.S.
I mean, most of the kids come on a recruiting visit, so at least they've seen the place, because, you know, but I think it's a fairly easy adjustment. When I say that here at Arizona State, while we're a big school in numbers, number one, we've got a lot of international students, so I think that's really helpful. I mean, President Crow is really big on, you know, recruiting international students, because a lot of times they're really bright kids. You know, a lot of these countries, you know, the education systems are absolutely fantastic. Some of these kids come to school and they've already done this stuff in high school. So from that standpoint, academically, I think most of them fit in really easily. It's sort of probably the tennis. I think they probably, when they come in, they might not have realized that tennis was as competitive as it is and as time-consuming. You know, tennis and weights and the whole bit. But I think they really enjoy it. A place like Arizona State, I mean, we have the kids in the dorms. It literally is a less than a 5-minute walk from the dorms to the tennis courts, and you wake up on one side of the bed, you're on the tennis courts in a 5-minute walk. The other side of the bed is 2 minutes. You cross the street and you're on campus. So I think everything is really close. So I think for you know, for an incoming freshman student athlete, American or international, I think the transition is not terrible. You know, I mean, it's going to be a transition. First time away from home, you got roommates, and you got coaches telling you what to do. You know, whereas a lot of these kids used to pay their coaches in the juniors. You know, you take lessons, and if you pay a coach, they're not usually going to harp on you too much, right? But technically here, we're sort of there. I shouldn't say they're bought, but you know what I'm saying. It's a little bit different. So I think sometimes the coaching might be a little bit harder than they think. You know, the rules might be a little bit more stringent than maybe they had at home, but I think overall they adjust really well. I find the international kids are very, very respectful, and I think they realize what a great deal they have here academically and athletically. So I think they're extremely appreciative.
My first day here, I remember. So at first I visited the studio. The studio center. I say hello to everybody. I was a little bit shy, you know, but I'm not shy, so but here I was a little bit shy, but it was kind of weird because my English was not that good. So I have to make an effort, you know, and listen all the things. You have to go there, see the paper there, and then go there. You know, I was on the rush, you know. So, but the people was very welcome to me, and it's kind of my family, you know. So it's a new family now, so I like it.
Every college student remembers their first time on a college campus. But for both Mackie and Pierre, their first days on campus were the first in the States.
For my birthday, 17th of August, so I came here on my birthday. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
What did that feel like?
It was like mixed a little bit because it was the first time I was not with my family. I mean, I'm not saying I was with my family all the time, but like my family lives in Geneva, so it's far from here. So I was like, okay. I went to Cheesecake Factory. I felt better after. But I mean, like, yeah, I'm a pretty social guy, so I got along really quickly with the guy from the teams, and the coaches helped me, so it was easy to adapt.
I need to spend more time to study, know exactly the topic, what I learn, but more I have to learn the English words. So this is more difficult for me. At the beginning was hard, like especially math or biology in English, it sucked. It was bad. But now it's better.
Once you've spent a month or two here, you start to miss your mum's homemade cooking, the washing and the cleaning that sometimes your mum and dad would do, which you now have to do as an adult. Let's go! And it's not like back home, all my friends that go to English university and they're just a 2-hour train ride or a drive away. I'm a 9-hour flight, so I can't particularly fly home if I miss the parents. So it's a different adjustment. I mean, personally now, I don't have a problem with it. I think my mum struggles with it more than I do. But no, I definitely do miss them. I'm looking forward to seeing them in just over a month, I believe.
Athletes in general on campus, they're like really respected. Whereas in Europe, I mean, I came to the US for college because there's not option in Europe. You either study or you turn pro. So I want to combine both of this, and that's why I came to the US. And I feel like the athletes are treated really well, and they're like a big part of the school. So yeah, I really like it.
America is really nice. People are lovely, actually. Like, I really get on well with a lot of people here. I think they're always trying to help you. My first memory is probably when I was 9 years old, and that was when I went to Florida. I came here with my home club back home in England for three weeks without my parents. And I think that was a bit of a challenge for me, but I think that's what's helped me become really independent, because I now know what it's like to be by myself without my parents and have to deal with other stuff that they can't help me with. I wouldn't say there's any major adjustments I would have to make. I think it's just mainly having no family around, not having them to do little things for me. Like with my mum, she would help me do the washing or she would help me do something, but she's not here to do that. So I think just those small adjustments. Just knowing a lot of people, different people from different countries, having that group of friends really helps me get a better knowledge of different countries, what their culture's like, and understanding who they are as a person as well.
At the beginning, I mean, I feel like a lot of guys were shy, but with the time now, we're such a good friends. Like we bored of, like we do everything together. Like we go out together, we play tennis together, we play soccer together. Like everything we do, like is together. And so now, we're such a big family, you know. So I trust my guy like this, you know, even Blaine. So yeah. there's no problem on the team. Like so we have such a good chemistry now.
Hey, not in the video, this one. Get it on the video. Get it. Oh, leave it in. Let's do this.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know the French boys complain a lot.
Yeah. I mean, French food is, I think, for me, one of the best food in the world.
I mean, no offense, but I prefer the European food. I feel like American food is much more like fatty, and like I like eating vegetables, and vegetables are really expensive here, and it's like it's much easier for you to eat like junk food or go to a fast food than eating normal food. And yeah, I mean, I managed to eat healthy, but it's not so easy. If I was in Europe, I think I'd eat better than now, because sometimes I just can't resist, you know, like you have beat-ups there and you just want to eat like fried chicken, so sometimes I go. But yeah, I mean, in Europe I've never eaten fried chicken, for example, and here I really like it, so it's weird. But I mean, it's part of the culture, I guess.
I mean, French food is like not as big as, like, the portion is not as big as here, but it's like very like, I can say this. It's very little with good taste, you know, unbelievable taste, you know. Like even the bread, or we eat like strange things like snails or yeah, it's pretty good. I like. There is a thing called foie gras. We ate this in Christmas. It's very famous there. It's like a duck, like pâté. It's very good. It's a big tradition in France. Like all the families, when it's Christmas time, eat foie gras. Here the portions are big, you know. There's a lot of like fast food, like I don't know, Chipotle, like Panda, you know. It's tough to. I think for me it's tough to eat good like here, you know, to have a good diet and stuff. But you have to pay like more attention for what you eat, you know. In France, I mean, you have like a lot of good things. Like it's easy to have vegetables and stuff like that, you know. Here you have to pay more attention for what you eat. Like don't go in and out and stuff like that, you know.
Okay, so I really like Panda Express here. I've never tasted something so amazing. Like, if you ask anyone, they'll know that Panda Express is probably one of my favorite places here, and I definitely love it a lot.
Really?
We don't have Panda Express. Even if we do have similar food, like such as Chinese food, it's just not the same. It's a lot different. So I'm very happy I've found my favorite.
It's a bit healthier back home. It's a lot more fatty food here, a bit more greasier. I personally like some aspects of the food, but then at the same time, there's some aspects of the food which are a bit heavy. You know, you don't feel great afterwards. I prefer the food back home personally. So that's the one of the ways up. Like I have different things I like for different places. You know, like there's certain things I like here, certain things I like back home, and food is definitely the one in the home category. That's for sure.
So maybe the food might not be in their favor, but the experience of playing at the collegiate level can set these athletes up for the professionals and beyond.
I say you always have bad days. Maybe there's a day where you're just really missing home. I think I've had a few of those days, but I think because I'm in such like a great place with such great people, you kind of overcome that very quickly and you realize that what a great opportunity I have. I think just being here, not many people my age, especially where I come from in London, they don't really get the opportunity to travel the world or at least go to a university in America. So I think I'm pretty lucky to be in the situation that I'm in.
I communicate a lot with my parents, like every 2 days. Every 2 days I have them on text, or every day on text, but every 2 days on the phone. So it's quick, but it's good to talk with them.
I think every tennis players are used to travel without family, so it's not that difficult. And now you have phones, so you can call every day. It's easy. I'm really close with my dad, so we have like same jokes. So like it's really funny. Or sometimes I'm just studying and I'm just phoning with them, and they're just talking, you know. And I feel like I'm still with them at home, and it's just a feeling. And I'm just studying, they just talk about something. It's just nice.
Yeah, I have a deal with my my mum and dad. So my mum will message me every morning, just like a morning message. Hey, how's it going? What are you doing today? Even though she knows what I'm doing, she knows the schedule now. And then I'll FaceTime my mum and dad together on a Friday, on a Sunday. That's like our routine, unless we have a match like today, and we'll postpone it. But I FaceTime them once a week. My brother, we always message, me and my brother. We FaceTime, we Snapchat, we do loads of different things. So it's good. I keep in a lot of contact with my mum and dad. I do it more for them because I know that they appreciate it a lot.
These athletes may be thousands of miles away from their home countries, but a new family has been netted in Tempe.
Here, like, people are very welcome compared like to Paris. I mean, people in Paris are sometimes a little bit cold. Here they are very welcome, you know, and it was easy because the staff here are unbelievable. The coach are always here for you, and I have such good teammates too, you know, so it makes the things more easier. And here I think like, I have the feeling that they want you to push you like to do better every time, you know. Like that's why, because tennis is such an individual sport, and being in college like makes the sport more entertaining and more funny, you know.
Well, you guys, this year it's been a crazy year for us to have this many fans out for our first year back in 10 years, and we really want to say thank you. It's made it very special for these guys who trusted in the coaching staff's vision to come here over going to a lot of other schools around the country. And yeah, it took a lot of trust